Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Chance, and it's time to talk about some board games. More specifically, today we're talking about the top 10 most fun to play with board game components. Before we dive in, I've got a few ground rules for what makes the cut. 1. Universal interaction. Every player has to actually touch and use the component. 2. The joy factor. It has to physically enhance the experience. Now, this is subjective, sure, but it's my channel, so I don't think I have to worry about that one. 3. Tactical over visual. This means we're cutting a few fan favorites, so sorry Parks, your art is gorgeous, but art isn't a toy. And sorry Hot Streak, your production is incredible, but if everyone isn't interacting with the mascots and the track, you're not making the list. Finally, no gray plastic minis. I know, some people love them, but for me, Unpainted Plastic is just a reminder of all the minis I need to paint. We're looking for things that bring pure tactical joy right out of the box. On that note, talking about tactical joy right out of the box, one more ground rule. These components are in the game box when you buy it. No third-party upgrades or upgrade kits. Now, deluxe editions are still in. Basically, if you can purchase the complete game with these components in the same box, then it's allowed on the list. To give you an idea of what I mean by joy, let's take a look at my runner-up that almost cracked the top 10. The markers in Treasure Island. I know what you're thinking. Chance, they're just markers. Seek help. But if you played enough roll and writes or hidden movement games, you know the struggle of the standard dry erase marker. They smudge, they smear, and you inevitably erase half your map with the side of your hand. They're functional, but they're messy. Then I played Treasure Island. When I went to mark my map, I realized these weren't standard markers. They were erasable chalk markers. The lines are thick, the colors are vibrant, and most importantly, they don't smudge. It turned the simple act of drawing a circle on a map into a genuinely pleasant experience. They effectively ruined standard dry erase markers for me. Are they a bit harder to clean off at the end of the night? Sure. But for the actual gameplay, they're a massive upgrade. Am I crazy, or is anyone else on, Team Chalk Marker here? Yeah, okay. So with that standard set, let's get into the top 10. I promise things get a little more interesting than just office supplies. Starting at number 10 is the power cord from Power Vacuum. Now, I debated on this one because there's no guarantee that everyone will use it in a single game, but it's highly likely, and it just brings me too much joy to leave off. The production on this game is incredible. I have the deluxe version, which features a switchboard with a dual-layered board and magnetic plugs that's just amazing. It's actually a brilliant physical pun. You're playing as appliances vying for power, and you're literally transferring electrical power with a cord to represent the transfer of political power. Mechanically, it's great too. So the players who play the lowest cards into a trick gets to first transfer power and then move a plug, which sets up the connection points for the next player. Of course, this could be represented with like a boring token, so using that magnetic cord that just snaps into place is perfect. It's tactical, it's thematic, and let's be honest, magnets make everything better. Next up is a heavyweight in the board gaming industry, and these are going to be the tiles in Azul. These chunky Clackity tiles are the gold standard for tactical satisfaction. Everything about them feels great, from pulling them out of the bag to sliding them into your pattern area. And I'll admit, I feel a little conflicted here. These are made of Bakelite. At least I am pretty sure they're Bakelite. And this isn't exactly the most environmentally friendly material. While this isn't an eco-friendly list, most of these things are plastic after all, Bakelite is definitely a bit more old school industrial in its footprint. So that being said, you can't deny the physical appeal. I honestly question if Azul would have been the massive success it is if these were just basic cardboard chits. These beautiful Clackity tiles just elevate the abstract game. So now coming in at number 8 is the Abduction UFO. Now full disclosure, this game is actually no longer in my collection. It's a fun pattern matching game, but the box was just too big to justify the shelf space for how often it hit the table for me. But that box is huge for a reason. It houses a massive silicone UFO filled with adorable mini resin ducks. To play, you have to reach inside that UFO and abduct the ducks and place them on your board. Is it dumb? Yes. Is the theme ridiculous? Absolutely. And the rulebook leans into that 100%. But pulling a tiny resin duck out of a flexible spaceship is just pure unadulterated fun. It's a component that makes you smile every time you look at it, and for that alone, it earned a spot on this list. Now let's move on from flexible silicone to something with a bit more heft. I'll be honest, I'm usually mixed on metal components. They can feel excessive or even risky. Slamming metal down on cardboard or cards just seems like a recipe for damaged components. But Lacuna does it right. Lacuna is a beautiful two-player game that you'll be playing on a fabric mat that looks like a deep, dark pool, and you'll be sprinkling these beautiful wooden flowers onto it. Then my favorite part are these little metal trophy player pieces. You're going to be placing these metal trophies out on the mat to claim pairs of these wooden flowers. They have this incredible definitive weight, and the subtle thud they make when you place them out into the play area feels final. It says, I'm claiming this spot. Are they strictly necessary? No. But do they elevate the experience? Yeah, 100%. Talking about thuds, the next component on this list is associated with a sound that can control an entire room. It's an object that carries a massive amount of weight in society. The gavel. When someone slams a gavel, they're saying that the debate is over, the decision is made, and we are done. There's one board game daring enough to give players that kind of power, and that's Modern Art. It features what I think is one of the best active player tokens ever created, a mini gavel. Now, Modern Art is a mathy, crunchy auction game, but the gavel helps bring out the theme of this game. It turns a dry calculation into a performance. You aren't just selling a card, you're an auctioneer. Oh, you're like, this piece is a haunting image of a mother and daughter, yada, yada, yada. And then the bids start rolling in. We've got player one at $45,000. Do I have anyone at $46,000? No takers at $46,000. Going once, going twice, bam! Sold for $45,000 to the gentleman in the bowler hat. So, kind of like Azul, does Modern Art need the mini gavel? No. Does it enhance the experience? Yeah, definitely enhances the experience for me. Now let's get back to the material that used to be the star of the show for board games before everything became plastic, and that's cardboard. I know, you're like, but cardboard is so boring, it's just thick paper. Well, let me tell you that you can make some amazing constructions with cardboard, and one of my favorites is the cardboard towers in Wandering Towers. These things are stackable, hollow, and the entire game relies on their design. There are two moments with these pieces that bring me pure joy. Or, sometimes a bit of misery. First, there's the lift. Since this is a memory game, you're doing your best to remember where your wizards are hidden. Now I'm going to admit that I'm terrible at this part of the game. I tend to be having too much fun and forget that I was supposed to be keeping track of my wizards. So when I lift one of those towers and see my meeple underneath, it's a huge relief that I found something that I was worried I lost. Of course, when I don't find them, it's despair. I cry out for my lost meeple and pray for their safe return. Okay, maybe that's exaggerating just a little bit, but look, it's fun. I love this part of the game. Then there's the cover. If you play the right card and move the right tower, you get to place the tower over someone else's wizard, and it's satisfying. These towers create such a unique looking table presence, and they turn a simple memory mechanic into something that is tactical and fun. Talking about stacking, coming up next in number 4 are the ships in Cosmic Encounter. They have that classic plastic crystal look that we see in so many board game components, and they're perfectly round and smooth. Basically, these are made to be fiddled with. Maybe these are the original fidget toy. This reminds me of something that a friend once mentioned to me during a long rules explanation. Said something along the lines of, the more fun it is to fiddle with the components, the less I care about how long the teach is. And that struck a chord with me because I was like, yeah, you're totally right. I do the same thing during a teach. So back to Cosmic Encounter. I could fiddle with these ships all day, but they aren't just toys, they're functional. In an area majority game, being able to glance at a stack and immediately know the strength of a fleet is vital. Honestly, I think stackable pieces should be a requirement for the area majority genre. I'm looking at you, El Grande. Moving on, let's take one final look at that magical material called cardboard, and talk about my favorite cardboard component in all of gaming. The player boards in Aquatica. This is the perfect marriage of form and function. In this game, you're securing location cards and sliding them into the bottom of your dual-layer board. As you rise through the depths, you slide the card up, covering bubbles to trigger resources or effects. One of the primary mechanics of this game is comboing those effects together, and there's just something so satisfying about the physical act of sliding a card into a slot to fire off an ability. And then the combos, they feel punchy and fast without the usual Euro game downtime. So every time I slide a card in Aquatic, I get that little hit of dopamine. Okay, now we're getting into the heavy hitters. So at number 2, we have the magnetic airships from Fractured Sky. I have to call out that I have the stupid expensive deluxe edition. Now the retail version seems like it'll still have great gameplay, but it'll be lacking in that toy factor that I'm kind of talking about in this list. Note that I picked up my copy of Fractured Sky at a board game swap. So I didn't shell out cold hard cash for this version. I basically turned a bunch of small games into a big box full of toys. So now in this game, you're placing airships in locations to essentially bid for resources. But the strength of your bid is hidden under the ship itself. These ships are gorgeous, but the real magic is the magnetic attachment. You have this set of round tokens hidden behind your player screen, and you just pick up one of your airships, move it close to the token you want to attach, and snap! That token attached and is hidden. That tactical clink that happens every time you load your ship just elevates the experience for me, and it makes the secret bidding phase feel like you're actually prepping a fleet for departure. Also, this is just better for hiding the tokens. No more worries about accidentally flipping a token over and revealing it. These tokens are locked on, so it actually improves the playability of the game. Also, there's restrictions on the value of the tokens that you can place, so I find that the puzzle of selecting tokens super interesting. Then one of my favorite parts of this game is that the number 1 and number 10 tokens have a different colored border that is visible to all the players when under the airship. This adds in a bluffing element, and the design of these airships with the magnets just makes everything work beautifully in this game. And finally, we've reached number 1. If the goal of this list is fun to play with and enhancing the experience, then nothing beats the catapult in Iron Forest. Look, we've all played dexterity games where you flick a wooden disc and it's fine, but Iron Forest said, what if we just gave you a mechanical launcher? This catapult is a beast, and you aren't just nudging a piece, you're loading your mech into a spring-loaded bucket and launching them across a 2-tier board. The engineering on this thing is incredible. I actually have to tell people to practice with it before we play because no one trusts the launcher at first. To quote the guys over at So Very Wrong About Games podcast, always trust the launcher. You pull this thing down and down and down, all the way down to the limit, and you're convinced the meeple is going to embed itself into the ceiling. But then you release, and that mech soars in a beautiful arc through the air, hitting that second tier every single time. The design team really outdid themselves here. Sometimes I'll be playing and I don't even need to go to that second level for my objective, but I'll do it anyway, just because the launch is so satisfying. Or I'll take a risk on a shallow launch just to relocate on the bottom floor. Either way, launching that wobbly meeple is pure joy. At the end of the day, this is what board games are for. They are meant to bring us joy, and let's be honest, they are toys. I love that Iron Forest doesn't shy away from that. It leans into the toy factor that the hobby sometimes tries to outgrow. This game just looks you in the eye and says, yeah, this is a toy, and we're going to make it damn fun to play with. So that's my list. From magnetic power cords to giant catapults, those are the components that remind me why I love this hobby. It's not just about the math or the strategy, it's about the physical joy of the things we put on the table. So what about you? Is there a component that you just can't stop fiddling with? Am I crazy to have those chalk markers in my runner-up spot? Let me know in the comments, and maybe you'll convince me to add another toy. I mean, serious board game to my collection. So that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching, and thanks for spending your time with me. I always appreciate it, and I'll talk to you next time.